We've worked in a lot of countries around the world, in Latin America and Eastern Europe. We've worked in Sub-Saharan Africa and in the US as well. And one of the things that we've always sort of emphasized is how certain populations are excluded from the response, and basic principles of access to effective and accurate information, access to prevention methods, access to treatment should be universal and should be available for everyone. One example of that work has been our work on drug users, both in Eastern Europe and in Asia. The ways in which states restrict access to needle exchange, for example, for drug users, police violence against drug users, detention of drug users in so-called treatment centers that actually deny treatment, both for drug dependency treatment and also for HIV. To me, what's really important to understand is that the denial of human rights create vulnerability to HIV infection. At its base, the HIV epidemic is driven by human rights abuses. But then also, people living with HIV are often particularly discriminated against. They're kicked out of housing, they're denied education, they don't have access to health care. And we need, in order to make progress on the AIDS epidemic, we need both to protect everyone's rights, to reduce their vulnerability to infection. And we also need to ensure that people living with HIV have protection against discrimination and have protection against rights abuses. And I think a lot of people don't understand what human rights mean because they take them for granted. And it's easy to take for granted the idea that you should have access to effective information. But in many countries, HIV and AIDS was denied. It doesn't exist here. It only exists among foreigners. The relationship between HIV and AIDS was denied. HIV doesn't cause AIDS. It's related to poverty. Effective treatment was denied. And countries continue to this day to suggest that herbal remedies or other sources of treatment are effective against AIDS, largely because governments don't want to deliver antiretroviral treatment, don't want to deliver effective treatment, don't want to demand for treatment by people who are infected. So those are some of the rights. I mean, there are other rights too. The right for NGOs to organize, to campaign. In Zimbabwe, a group on World AIDS Day had a march asking the government to spend more money on AIDS, and they were put in jail. And those who were put in jail, who were HIV positive, were denied access to their treatment while they were in jail. These are all violations of human rights that have specific impact on the epidemic and on how successful we'll be in combating it globally.
For further information on human rights, HIV/AIDS, and to endorse now more than ever the joint statement, visit www.hivhumanrightsnow.org.